Welcome one, welcome all to Pit Road Productions for round 2 of the Podium 1 GT3 Fixed Series supported by RAFA Racing Club. We're here at Laguna Seca with another bumper field of GT3 cars for some fantastic racing over the next hour or so. 40 minutes worth of racing, 15 minutes of qualifying, and bringing it to you live here on YouTube and Twitch, whichever platform you're coming from. Hello, I'm Reese Gardner with Daniel Zippy Salmon alongside me in the commentary box and also producing behind the scenes. Zippy, we had a great first round last week, and now we come to a track that is a little bit more compact, and with the amount of cars we've got in the field, I think that might cause some issues.
Yeah, we got a 49 car grid race, and what can I say? That is absolutely astonishingly fantastic news. Picking up an adject, ladies and gentlemen, and just throw them out there. At least that's what I'm doing. But Laguna Seca race, I've got to be honest, it is on the Princess approved track list for anybody at home. I'm sure they'll be very familiar with such a saying, but yeah, absolutely fantastic track. Definitely got its challenging in places, but I think the corkscrew is going to be an absolute belter. I've seen big fields here before, but not with GT3. Certainly, I think this is going to be a very interesting turnaround indeed.
Yes, I think it certainly will be. There's plenty of good overtaking opportunities around this circuit, but Laguna Seca, the corners come thick and fast. It's all about momentum and keeping the car rotating through the corner, looking after the tires and avoiding the anti-cut curbs in certain places, particularly at turn 6. I've been spat out into the sand more times than I can count around this circuit. But yeah, it's going to be a good round, and we're looking forward to seeing some hard racing, particularly for the lead. I think we should go through the format for tonight's racing before we get into the thick of things. It's looking good for 40 minutes worth of racing here tonight after 15 minutes of qualifying.
Yeah, absolutely, Reese. But speaking of what we're going to be doing this season, let's take a quick look here at the schedule. Obviously, we started at Road America before heading to round 2 for Laguna Seca. Autodromo Rodriguez, I can't say I've ever been there. Round 4 takes us to Sonoma, with round 5, the Princess-approved top of the food chain, ladies and gentlemen, of Road Atlanta with Daytona, or Dayonta. My bad. In round 6 with PIR for round 10. We didn't spot that last week. Montreal takes us for round 8 with Indianapolis and Sebring rounding out the Seoul Series. What a belter.
Yeah, I'm certainly looking forward to round 10 at Virginia International Raceway. That's going to be a fun round indeed. But yeah, plenty of great tracks on this season's schedule, and yeah, they all suit the GT3 class perfectly, in my opinion. It's going to be fun for sure. I suppose after all is said and done, we've got results from last round, effective points to think about as well. We've got quite a few drivers who are looking for a bit more out of this one. David Freeston of Australia took the first win of the season in his brand new Aston Martin GT3. Managed to come up on it when drivers in front had issues. Hunter McCall is currently in second in the gold standings, with Chris Krohn, Brian Zinn, and Austin Diltz rounding out your top 5. Joshua Wilford and Amrit Vestrala rounding out that top 7 there, with Charles Ayres taking the win in the silver class. He's got 65 points on the cards, with Jamil Gummer only 3 points behind him. That's a further 7 points back to Reed Lincoln, and then Brissetti and Fox round out your top 5. Only one round completed of this championship so far, so not a huge amount of points to talk about, but basically this is where they finished in the first round. Tommy Polte took the win in the bronze class, with Jack Minter and Drew Martin second and third. Philip Crane and our series administrator CJ Conklin rounding out your top 5 there. Remember, all classes are scored together by overall position. There's no separate points for these subclasses that we have today. So the format for tonight's race: we have, of course, 15 minutes of qualifying that the drivers are currently in the midst of. And, well, we've only got about a minute to go for that. There's going to be a 40-minute sprint race with a pit stop required at some point. So the drivers are going to have to really practice the pit entry here at Laguna Seca. It's a notoriously difficult one.
Yeah, it definitely has a set of challenges there, Reese. But I will give a quick shout out to the driver cams as well. Don't get me wrong, we've done driver cams here on Pit Road Productions before, not on this style of show, but we started bringing them in here for the Podium 1 GT3 Fixed Series, and I gotta say, I've never seen a group embellish this so much. I don't know if embellish is the right word, but certainly embrace it, I guess you could say. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I got 8 active cams. Tommy, 9 active cams. Tommy's yours just come back. So, yeah, that's going to be pretty good, ladies and gentlemen. 9 people who actually want to make it onto the big screen.
Absolutely. Well, we'll hopefully be able to check in with them every so often once we get into the meat of the action here tonight. Well, in just a few seconds' time, qualifying will end, and we'll get ourselves the last couple of times on the board ready to set the grid for the 49 cars to start. But before that, we have a 5-minute warm-up period, and that gives us a chance to thank the sponsors of the Podium 1 Fixed GT3 Series. First of all, at VPG Sim, they don't just build equipment, they translate years of motorsport expertise from BF1 systems directly into your hands. Their products are engineered using knowledge driven by professional drivers, the ones who push the limits. It's about that weight, that feedback, that raw, uncompromising connection to the machine. It's from track to sim. VPG Sim are bringing the authentic race feel home. Crafted in Wisconsin, Carbliss offers a line of premium canned cocktails designed for drinkers who refuse to compromise on flavor or fitness goals. These ready-to-drink options featuring vodka, rum, and tequila bases for classic drinks like margaritas and mojitos are built on a simple promise: bold flavor with zero compromises. Every 12-ounce can is zero sugar, 0 carbs, gluten-free, and just 100 calories. That sounds a bit dangerous. Ferme Serpollet, owned by league racer Simon Cartier and his brothers Martin and Serge, made a strategic shift to exclusively breeding purebred Holsteins. This decision was aimed at improving the genetics of their then 60-head Serpollet herd. The strategy has proven highly successful and continues to yield excellent results for their young herd today. And of course, Podium 1 Racing is a Nashville, Tennessee-based builder of turnkey racing and flight simulator systems. They offer premium, ready-to-use rigs that integrate high-end components such as Fanatec, Asetek, and Cubic motion systems to meet the needs of serious racers and professional training environments. Big thanks to all of the sponsors here at the Podium 1 GT3 Championship, and I am really looking forward to seeing how the racing goes here today. We're currently in the midst of our warm-up session, just the last preparations that are going through here for the Grid Zippy. I'm just hyped. Laguna Seca GT3, it's a match made in heaven.
Absolutely, and it's going to be an absolute belt of a race. Certainly, it does indeed have a set of challenges with it at times. So let's see one of the drivers here. He was here, he's just gone. Ladies and gentlemen, Tommy Polty, currently leading the bronze division on a little bit of a practice lap right now as he makes his way there through the corkscrew.
Yep, demonstrating the corkscrew there, and a little bit of a slow lap here in the Porsche. Probably a good opportunity to practice pit entry. We'll see if he decides to do that or stay out and commit to another lap. It looks like he certainly will. Meanwhile, get a bit of an onboard here in the BMW Zippy. Laguna Seca, an excellent circuit. It's been around since the late 1950s. And it's only had its layout changed a couple of times, so we'll see what Andrew Garov can do here, coming down to what's technically turn 2, the Andretti hairpin, a double apex hairpin here, one of the slowest on the circuit, but the exit is so important. If you get it right, you can line up and move up the inside here into turn 3, this infield section that was added in the late 1980s. Pretty flat compared to the rest of the circuit, but it's highly technical, and it will produce some interesting moves, particularly coming up to turn 5 here. A little bit wide there for Andrew. It's banked on the outside, though, so he can ramp off for the run up to turn 6. Now, keep an eye out for the anti-cut curb right there on the inside. You want to avoid that at all costs. You hit that, and you'll get bounced right out of contention. Then the braking zone for the corkscrew, over the rise and then down low in the speed. Just make sure that you angle the car right, otherwise you'll get on that gravel and completely ruin your lap. Late apex as you descend down the hill, and then high banked corner here for the penultimate turn. It's one of my favorite corners on this track, and then hard braking once again for the final turn. The slowest corner on this racetrack. You can use all of that green AstroTurf out there on the exit as well if you want to maximize it, but some drivers prefer to go for the more straight line option.
Yeah, great lap there of Andrew Garov. Currently put him there in second for the warm-up, ladies and gentlemen. Does a 129.39. Definitely not one of his fastest laps there. Philip Crane was putting a 125.99, so definitely just a little bit of a feeler lap, I'd say, looking at the pace we've seen from Andrew so far.
Yeah, indeed. Well, looks like the best times in warm-up around about the 1 minute 25 second bracket. Fastest times in practice, they got down to as low as 1 minute 20.0, and David Freeston managed to put down a 1 minute 20.3 for pole position. In just a few seconds, we'll be switching over to the race session, and we can go through the grid for round 2 of this Podium 1 Fixed GT3 Series as we find our way through to David Freeston on pole position. He's got Hunter McCall alongside him on the front row, with Dalton Oxborough and Miguel Colon in third and fourth. Miguel didn't have the best of results at Road America last round despite his pace, so he's looking to capitalize here. Joshua Wilford, who took a couple of wins at the end of last season, starts fifth alongside Cairo Enns, the Canadian, on the third row. Artis Veldra and Jacob Freeman are your seventh and eighth places, with Kevin Rosario taking pole position in the silver class. He's got Doug Sorrentino for company on the fifth row.
Great to see Doug making a return. As we see Chris Crone, he's going to be there in P11 with Ben Mellick alongside him in P12. As we have a look at 13th, the fastest bronze driver today so far, it's Jack Minter, ladies and gentlemen, alongside Pierce Fox in 14th. Reed Lincoln takes 15th with Amrit Vestrala in 16th. Chris Bracetti is there in 17th with Charles Ayers. He's the silver leader, I believe, right now, in 18th, with Matt Hollinger in 19th, and Jamil Guma closing out your top 20.
In 21st, Jason Hatcher with Darwin Hanson alongside Michael Clark and Matt Jones are your 12th row of the grid. Then moving back to Mr. Pacheco starting in 25th alongside Martin in the bronze. Drew Martin, that's the pole position there. Conklin, Souza, Haygood, Garov, Thurston, Matthey, Corcoran, Manders, Crane and Savorak round out your top 36. And then we're just going to have to display these on the screen ever so briefly here. 49 cars, barely enough time to go through them before the race gets started. We are away, and David Freeston is going to lead us to turn 1. Hunter McCall in the Ferrari is going to chase him. We already have some trouble at the final corner at the back of the grid. It looks like Ayers says, oh my goodness me, that's Freeston incredibly deep. I was looking at the back of the field, I saw something happen there, completely missed that. Freeston in a little bit of trouble there, and it looks like we're going to see Kerry Corcoran find his way through no, we're going to see Oxborough go through to the lead there. My timing screen is glitching because there's so many cars on track at the moment. But Dalton Oxborough taking great advantage of that little mistake there for both Freeston and the Ferrari of McCall. And we will find a little bit more here at the corkscrew, I'm sure. There's going to be plenty of drama all throughout the field through this particular corner, but Hunter McCall is right on the attack. He's got to try and stay with Oxborough early here. They do have a pit stop coming up, but as long as you stay close to the car ahead, you should be able to benefit through the pit cycle.
Yeah, you're already starting to see some of these cars are indeed spreading out, but something did definitely happen to the to a couple of cars at the start. Charles Ayers being one of them. He's fallen down 23 spots. I'm going to try and find a replay for you in just a second there, Reese, but action happening all throughout the field. But of course, ladies and gentlemen, it's a 49 car grid.
Yeah, indeed. Well, Charles Ayers, he spun out of the final corner from what I could see. He's very quickly making moves up through the back half of the field there. We're going to see what happened to him here as they got to the start. There's such a big field that the front of the field had already taken the green flag. but Ayres, I think, just pushed a bit too hard through the final corner, lost the rear end. So he is down all the way at the back as soon as the race gets started. Not ideal. Well, Darwin Hansen, meanwhile, on replay as well, seems had his own trouble in the Aston Martin. Yes, he pushed a bit too hard in the last turn himself and almost ran into Ayres.
Well, definitely could have been a lot worse. Thankfully, Darwin is indeed okay. As we return to live pictures, then Charles Ayres taking a little bit of a scenic route there through the sand. Debris being sprinkled all over the track. It's not the start that he was looking for. Right behind him, though, we see Marvin Brooks and indeed Tommy Polte going side by side, having a good battle already here at Laguna Seca.
Yes, great battles going on all the way through this field. Tommy is doing his best to avoid most of the anti-cut curbs, but it looks like he just tapped it through turn 6 there, and that'll give the run to the McLaren of Marvin Brooks behind him, and Marvin is gaining a lot there through the braking zone. Robert Bison, meanwhile, looks like he's got Charles Ayres for company there, as it's recovery number 2 for Charles there. Not having the best of times in the BMW at the moment, but Robert Bison there running his virtual reality headset. He's got a great view of what's happening ahead and around him, and will be particularly useful through the corkscrew.
I gotta say, I feel like we should introduce him to Robert Kobe. These guys have pretty much got matching beards. Absolutely incredible stuff there. But in fair play to him, you would recognize him with the VR set and that beautiful beard. I gotta admit, I'm jealous for his. I can't grow anything even like that kind of caliber.
Yeah, my beard tends to stay a bit cropped most of the time. Well, we move back to Andrew Garov here, who we rode on board with in the warm-up session, down in 24th position at the moment, and he's got CJ Conklin right behind him. CJ looking to make some gains once again. He ended up losing a few positions on the first lap. Thurston and Manders are right with them as well. And CJ gets a little bit of the hurry up from Richard Thurston and the McLaren behind. Now the door opens to the inside, and he makes his way past Andrew Garov in spectacular fashion. Way, hello. Freebie for Richard Thurston.
I gotta say, that was an absolute belt of a move by Thurston. CJ just kind of opened the door from a little bit there, and as good as Garov was doing, he got eaten alive on that one, but despite that, he is still indeed up 3 positions. Speaking of which, let's have a quick look and see who the hard charger is right now. If I'm not mistaken, it is indeed going to be this gentleman, Tyler Gramling, who's currently up 10 positions in P31.
Yeah, looking very good for Tyler Gramling at the moment. He's taken advantage of the chaos of the first couple of laps. A 49-car field at a track like Laguna Seca will always have potential gains in line for those who can keep it together. Sean Phillips, meanwhile, looks like that's Ayres who's managed to make his way past there. Phillips running down in 33rd position at the moment, and trying his best to keep Scott Laurenti behind him in the BMW here, up 5 places for Scott, and looking good for the moment. Meanwhile, up the front, things are starting to heat up. Joshua Wilford, oh yes indeed, that certainly looked a bit how you going there. But Joshua Wilford is making a charge forward. The South African, currently occupying 2nd place, made his way past Hunter McCall a lap or so ago, I believe. Now piling the pressure on Dalton Oxborough. The door opens to the inside at turn 3, and Wilford gets the move done. Beautifully managed right there. Just enough space given between the 2 drivers. The lead now goes to the 82 Wilford.
Well, it's about to get more interesting, Reese. That is a lap car ahead. Obviously, when you got 49 cars on track, things can happen and people can indeed get very spread out. We have to see how this works out for them. As you see that beautiful BMW, I've got to say, the paint jobs here at Podium 1 have been nothing short of fantastic. And don't get me wrong, I'm definitely going to be a little bit biased towards the Aston Martins, purely because it's British, ladies and gentlemen, and McLaren is a little bit underrepresented today. Richard Thurston running one of 2 McLarens actually in the grid, one of 3, sorry. The other one's being driven by Marvin Brooks and indeed by John Hamrick. Currently not looking to the best race there for John Hamrick. He's currently there in P49, ladies and gentlemen. Something's definitely gone horribly wrong for him. But battles happening throughout the field as I say that. It looks like something's happened with Calvin Christian. Yeah, he has indeed taken a scenic route.
Oh, yeah, he certainly has. And I see that Kerry Corcoran might be falling down the order as well. Oh, wow, that is too much power out of the Andretti hairpin for Callan Christian there. And, well, he will continue on for the moment. Just managed to keep the car out of the wall, which is crucial. Another position up there for CJ Conklin. There's a bit of contact behind them there. Conklin is having an all-right race for the moment. He's, oh, hello, Chris Brissetti going for the pits. I don't see any damage on the car, but that is a very early stop.
Yeah, there must be some kind of logic in there. Don't get me wrong, it might just be, you know what, I want to get up and away from these people, and fair play to them. As right now, it looks like CJ Conklin and Quinn Manders are going to be going into a battle here for P23. Don't get me wrong, Manders is rated in silver, currently up 10 positions as well. Second hardest hard charger, ladies and gentlemen, but is CJ going to be too much of a match for him? And so I'd say CJ's definitely had some pace here today in that Ferrari, but I am seeing a lot of debris on the track, and do have to wonder if a couple of these drivers are maybe going to find their way into the sand.
Yeah, I got to wonder too. I mean, Laguna Seca is a very old school circuit. It's got sand lining it the whole way here on this scan anyway. In the real world, the track has had strips of tarmac laid either side coming out of this corner right here. So it's a little bit wider coming up the hill in the real world now, but in the sim, not the case. So you do need to be very careful about where you place your car. Oxborough, meanwhile, has got quite a bit of pressure on him here. Hunter McCall right on the back as they make their way into the Andretti hairpin, and Wilford is starting to jet away out the front. His last lap time, a 121.19. Not much of a gap in terms of fastest laps, but he ended up gaining some 0.4 of a second on Oxborough and McCall. So it looks like now that Wilford's out in front, he won't have much to trouble him unless there's lapped cars. Cairo Ends, after starting P6, has had trouble at turn 2 himself.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, wiggle! Oh no!
Too much debris on the tires.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes, indeed.
Sorry, Reese. You go ahead, sir. You go ahead.
Yeah, well, I was just going to say a little bit too much debris on the tires. That's all.
Oh, okay. Let's find out exactly what happened to Cairo here. He's definitely had a. Oh my! Oh. Okay, let's go back a little bit further and see exactly what went on here.
Okay, so obviously coming into turn 1 is where we should pick this incident up. It's always tough with the circuit being as narrow as it is as well in that section. So he was trying to make the move, and then, oh, he lost it by himself, unfortunately.
I'm
a
not
spirited
sure.
maneuver. No, I'm pretty sure there wasn't contact there. Yeah, no, the slide had already started at that point. Ends, I think, just a little too spirited on the power, and that ended up catching a couple other cars out too. Yeah,
definitely. I think it started to lose it, and he got a little bit of help as well. But I think fair play. I think you're right on that one, Reese. You definitely. The Teddy was already out the pram at that point, as it looks like he did pick up a little bit of damage on that left rear corner, from what I can see.
Yeah, a little bit of contact, and so the Aston Martin is well, probably not going to struggle too much. I think Cairo just needs to find that limit and stick to it. Meanwhile, out of the pits just then, coming out, one of the BMWs, I believe it might have been the one that we saw pull into the pits earlier, Chris Brissetti, actually is back in the pits. Not ideal for Brissetti. Not sure what's going on for him there. Meanwhile, Richard Pettit and Richard Pettit and Simon Carter trading spots there for 36th place. Simon looking to move up the field a little further here. Trying to find him on the timing screen. There's just so many cars here that our timing screen is set alight like a tree in a forest fire. Quinn Manders down in 22nd position now, as the position is made up once again there by Cairo Ends. Outside the top 20 is the man who started on the 3rd row, so he's got a lot of work to do over the next 28.5 minutes.
Yeah, definitely. As I see there, we've got Jacob Freeman making his way out of the pits. Another one taking that earlier strategy. I do have to wonder, well, is him and his brother, I'm going to assume it's his brother? Father? I'm not too sure. No, we've got Freeman and Freestone. My apologies there. Both of them being Australian. I didn't quite make the connection. I do apologise, but certainly I do have to wonder, maybe we get a little patriotism there, as I believe that might be Quinn Manders. No, who's that parked at the side of the road, Reese?
Good question. Not entirely sure. Jason Owens has also come across some issues there in the Mustang. There's a car slow on the way into the final corner as well. Goodness me, everything's going off at the moment.
Yeah, definitely all sorts, and already the race leaders are trying to find their way through traffic, as we're going to check in on this battle right now between Reed Lincoln and indeed Amrit Vestrala. And no, my apologies, Reed Lincoln and Pierce Fox. My apologies. This is the battle for P3 in the silver class.
Yep, Pierce Fox is keeping his eyes peeled for any potential move here on Reed Lincoln. They've got another Mercedes up ahead of them. That's Amrit Vestrala, who's in 12th place. So any mistake from Vestrala will bring him right back into this battle of the Mercs now, coming out of the second corner. This is looking like a very interesting battle indeed. Not much of a chance for a move in this section unless you're fully alongside the car you're trying to pass. The Porsche of Matt Jones is looking for a move as well here. View back from Pierce Fox as we see the 77 peek out, and just enough space there to avoid contact. Oh dear, round he goes. That's the BMW there of Fox that's gone around, and that was at quite a high rate of speed. That's the downside of the exit of turn 5. If you clip the gravel, the car's loaded up and there's not much you can do to arrest the slide.
As we see there, the McLaren taking a little bit of a scenic route. I have a feeling the elbows may indeed be out for a couple of these drivers, Reese.
Michael Pacheco was the McLaren that went off there. So there's basically every driver in the field, save for our top three, has had something go wrong for them somewhere along the line. This is the battle here for Cairo Owens to try and get back into the top 20. And he's got the number 18 of Freeman there. That's too deep into the final corner, and big contact there. Jacob Freeman gets out of it nicely though, and Cairo Owens has to wait for another opportunity. So Freeman now has Brent Souza and Richard Thurston up ahead of him. There's a big mix of silver and gold drivers here with a couple of bronzes thrown in as well. Very intense fighting.
Oh, it really is, and I think what's part of the mix-up as well is that we got a couple of gold drivers who have fallen back quite heavily through the field. Both Freeman and Cairo Owens are down 11 and 14 positions respectively. So don't get me wrong, they are going to be working really hard to try and force their way through. There is probably going to be a little bit of a pace difference, but that's all well and good. That's in clean air. What can they do here in traffic as Freeman absolutely sends it up on the inside of the number 8 of Brent Souza?
Oh, yes, indeed. It looks like going to be single file here through turn 6 as is expected, but that's Freeman a little bit too wide there out of turn 6, and looks like the cars behind won't be able to quite capitalize. Brent Souza. Oh my God. Cairo is going very deep in pretty much every single braking zone there. I think might have to brake just a tiny bit earlier there, mate. I've lost count of the amount of times we've seen him get huge in that rear view, as the Porsche, I believe, that was spun out of turn 3 is the one that we just saw there, making his way slowly around the circuit. Another wiggle for the Aston Martin of Cairo Owens there. His charge up the field not going as well as he would like. Yeah,
I do have a feeling like it's great seeing Cairo here and in the race, but I do have a feeling he would benefit a lot from just cooling it down a little bit. Like this, I almost feel like he's trying to set qualifying laps or maybe like overcompensate a little bit to try and recover his position. And I think if he just dialed it back just like 10%, I think he would have a much more successful race long term.
Well, we'll see how he goes from here. Meanwhile, move up to P7, Artus Veldra, the reigning series champion. He wasn't here for round 1, so he's got already a bit of a points deficit to try and make up here. He drove the Lamborghini last season. He's decided to go for the BMW M3 here, as that looks like Freeston, I think, coming into the pit lane. So an early call to the pits there from the Australian who started on pole. Has he gotten a black flag?
No, somebody span around in the final corner.
Oh, okay.
I'm trying to find it. The
see.
thing keeps moving.
All right. Well, Simon Cartier, Canada, in the Aston Martin, looks to be the car in question. Gets on the power, but the slide had already started before he got over the curb, and the AstroTurf just made it worse. Doug Sorrentino, in his recognizable Barbie livery machine, was the first on the scene, and it looks like everyone managed to avoid contact with the stricken Aston Martin there. But David Freeston, our first caller to pit lane from the top of the field, and it makes sense because I think at Laguna Seca you want to try and prioritize getting out in clear air to undercut drivers ahead of you. That is the ideal way to go about it here with the field so huge and passing evidently being so difficult. Doug Sorrentino is dodging lap cars left, right, and center here in his battle with Chris Krohn, and he goes defensive into the final corner. Krohn trying to get into what is now the top 5, and the over-under doesn't work in the short term, but he might pick up some slipstream here down the start-finish straight. Sorrentino, we know, is a very capable driver, and he defends like an animal. That's exactly what he's doing here. Chris Krohn having to give him a little bit of a hurry up at the apex of the hairpin there. And is that a lapped car ahead of them? I'm not entirely sure. No, I think it might be... no, yeah, it is a lapped car. This Mustang that they're making their way around. And they only just managed to get it done there. That's Jason Owens down in 44th position, one of many drivers who's got a few dings and dents and bumps on the machine as the defense continues for Sorrentino, but he's lost momentum out of the corner here. Is Chris Krohn brave enough to try it up the inside of turn 6? I wouldn't do it, Chris. Are you going to try it? Oh, no, round he goes. Round goes Doug Sorrentino. And that's a free position for Artis Veldre. Sorrentino in the wall, and probably none too happy with how that incident worked out. A few other cars got involved in that too.
Yeah, I definitely don't think that was a move to be had. It was ambitious, but we were both thinking that's some beautiful ballerina action there in the background from that yellow Mustang. I think that was Stephen Lauder. We'll take a quick look. Let's see if I can get a quick replay to see a little bit more about how that just unfolded.
Yes, well, Artis Veldre has immediately responded to that incident and gone straight for the pits. I think he doesn't want to be in and around any of that action there. And Chris Krohn, well, there was an attempt, but that is a one-line fits-all corner at turn 6. Sometimes you can go side by side through there if the driver you're attempting to pass yields, but Doug Sorrentino was in no position to yield anything coming into the corner there, and he'll end up with some damage to his car that he'll have to manage until it's time to pit, unless he decides to pit very soon. Looks like he hasn't. So Doug Sorrentino now. Looks like the front end is a little bit more crumpled than it was, but still holding on to 13th place. Yes, Artis Veldre, who has just come out of the pits. So Veldre with a little more fuel in the car. There aren't tyre changes in these pit stops, at least there don't need to be. GT3 tyres last practically forever. In a 40-minute race, you wouldn't even think about changing them, especially with the new tyre model for the GT3s that's been in effect for a couple of seasons now. They start pretty cold, and you need to be careful to work the temperature into the tyres. So it's just fuel only for Artis Veldre, and it looks like those tyres are still very much switched on.
Well, speaking of switch on, this gentleman is definitely trying to make the recovery drive of a century. He's been down all the way near the back of the field, and yeah, somehow timing scoring is telling me he's only down one position now. I do have to wonder if that's to do with pit stops, but looking through the field, there's still a lot of drivers who haven't pit. So I gotta say, Charles Ayers, how on earth has he managed to recover at such an alarming rate? As I say that, he makes his way down pit road.
Yes, well, I think Ayers has benefited from the chaos at the back of the field. So many drivers have just made solo mistakes or been involved in incidents. It's Kerry Corcoran there, who's managed to jump up into 19th place now, as it looks like Sorrentino and Ayers are both in the pit lane right now. Corcoran streaming on his own Twitch channel, and CJ Conklin has potential to get amongst it as well. These guys battling at the sort of back end of the top 20 as things stand.
Absolutely fantastic stuff. We've got Dylan Newhart in the chat, who obviously we're all familiar with here over on Pit Road Productions. He is indeed, he's like an extra special part of the team, we'll put it like that. Says he doesn't have a nice enough rig. I don't think that's an excuse. You're way quicker than me, but stop blaming it on the gear. But right now, let's focus here on Michael Pacheco, because he's trying to apply a little bit of pressure into the back of CJ Conklin, and I believe that is Jason Owens in that Mustang, who's honestly just trying to get out of the way at this point, doing everything he can to make it as smooth as possible. But right now, one of the only McLarens, one of three, is trying to make his way up into the 20th position against league organizer CJ Conklin.
Yeah, indeed. We'll see how clean the move is. You know, obviously it's hard racing, but you want to try and be a little bit more careful when racing the series administrator. Sorrentino, meanwhile, out of the pits, and 22nd place for him for the moment. He's not too far behind this pack. Conklin now looks like has lost touch with Kerry Corker, and so Michael Pacheco has every chance in the world to try and make this move. The BMW just behind them, it looks like that's a lapped car, has just gotten over the concrete a little bit, and oh dear, a little bit of a slip as I see a black flag next to Cairo Enz's name. That is far from ideal for the driver, who has been struggling quite a bit already throughout the course of this race. Has he picked that up through pit lane, I wonder?
I don't know if he picked it up through pit lane, or actually no, I don't think he's been down the pits. I think that might just be incident points. We've certainly seen him get into the back of a couple of drivers. Don't get me wrong, we're a big fan of Ben, especially Jake Enns, who regularly joins us in the chat. But Cairo, bless him, he has not had a good couple of races. I think maybe definitely dial it back a little bit there, Cairo, and I think you will indeed see an improvement in your results. But we're going to go see what's happening here with Matt Jones. This is the battle for P2 in silver.
Yes, and Matt is currently up in P9. Reed Lincoln chasing him here in the Mercedes. I love the mix of cars in this field. I mean, we got an Aston and a BMW and a Ferrari on the podium. We have a Mercedes in fourth with Miguel Colon. We have Chris Krohn in the Mustang, Rosario in another Mustang, Estrella in a Mercedes, Minter in the Porsche, and then we have Jones in the Porsche and Lincoln here in the Mercedes. Lovely mix of cars indeed. But we'll see if there's anything more to be said here for Reed Lincoln, because it looks like we have Ben Mielik in the number 35 Mustang making some big moves forward just behind him up the back half of this circuit. It really is a big difference maker, that more hilly section of the circuit. There's a real technique to getting the best out of the car through there.
I gotta admit, the more I'm watching this race as well, Reese, it really feels like the Mustang is just so rev happy here. Like, this thing wants to go, as he's gonna absolutely book it up on the inside. Gets that move done, as I say, done.
Nice.
Only just, ladies and gentlemen, as he makes his way around the final corner. But it's gonna be a bit of a drag race here. The Mustang is known for having that straight line speed, but the Mercedes not exactly getting blown away. Are we gonna see a little bit of a fight back here as they go around turn 1 and 2?
Wide entry there for Reed Lincoln, and he tries to keep the pace up as the lap car of Phillips comes out of the pit lane next to them. Yeah, it looks like, particularly coming up to this section of the circuit, this is where Ben Mielik really shows his strength here. He has now left Reed Lincoln behind and will try his best to give chase to Matt Jones for second place in silver. Rosario leading silver, and I'm really impressed to see Jack Minter leading bronze all the way up in 8th overall. That's quite impressive.
Yeah, I do believe he actually won bronze last season as well, so I'm thinking he's going to be due a promotion sometime soon. That's where I'm at with that.
Yeah, me too. Well, we'll see if Minter can hold on here. He's driven carefully all the way through, but the battle is not too far behind them. Mielik is making tracks on Matt Jones right now, and looking at his pace here, he managed to set a 121.8 for his fastest lap. Compare that to a 122.1 for Jones on his own fastest lap. Difference of about 0.6 of a second between them on the previous lap. So Ben Mielik is looking for more moves here. He's already up a couple of positions. Jones, meanwhile, I'm seeing plus 15 next to his name on my timing. That's a solid run up through the field, if that is indeed the case.
Yeah, actually, just having a look at Ben's, I believe he's got a POV cam going as well. That's pretty cool there, Ben. I like it. Look at his gloves as well.
Very nice. He's got he's got his number and his name on him as well. That's fantastic. Well, Ben Mielek going for that personal touch with his own setup as they find their way through on lapped cars. More racing going on throughout this field. Michael Pacheco still chasing Philip Crane at the moment for 23rd position with 12.5 minutes or so left on the clock. For our leaders, that's about 10 laps to go. And speaking of the lead, it hasn't really changed that much. Joshua Wilford has held on to a gap of about 1.5 seconds over Dalton Oxborough, and Hunter McCall has vanished out of the battle for the top two here. It looks like lap traffic has really influenced the race for the leaders, but Chris Crone will join David Freeston as one of the only drivers so far in our top 10 to actually go for a stop. We'll see where this ends up putting him. David Freeston, 13th at the moment, and Crone was around about 5th place or so when he came into the pits, so it looks like that's going to be... Oh, yes, he certainly has. David Freeston will get it done on Chris Crone, and that is a long way ahead. So Freeston will have to keep an eye on. Remember, he was way out of sequence with everyone else. An incredibly early pit stop. He did fall back in the opening laps. He was in about 8th or 9th place, I believe, when he came into the pit lane, which is not ideal for our overall pole sitter. But Freeston has shown that the second half of the race is where he really shines. At least he did at round 1. So let's see what he can do as we'll wait for the rest of our top runners to come into the pits and try and sort this running order out.
Yeah, it's definitely a few people in the pits there. As we see the razzle dazzle, gotta say, love you for that one, Rob. Doug Sorrentino looking to try and make his way back up through the field. Reed Lincoln just ahead. Reed Lincoln currently in P7 for the silver class. Doug Sorrentino in gold P10, ladies and gentlemen. So definitely he's got a little bit of work to do. We did see him get caught up with Chris Crone that little bit earlier on, and that has cost him quite heavily. But do a little bit of zippy map here. I think he's about 20 seconds back from Crone, who's currently resting in P9 in class. So don't get me wrong, in class position, there's not a lot in it. As we got to see, oh my gosh, I thought we were going to go pretty wide. That was brave.
Little mistake by Kerry Corcoran there coming out of the corkscrew, and immediately decides to come into the pits. Yeah, good call. After something like that, I would need a breather, and that's what Kerry Corcoran is going to get as he jumps in for his pit stop. Sorrentino, meanwhile, trying to find his way past Lincoln. This is turned into bit of a tough one for Doug Sorrentino, as it looks like Joshua Wilford, Dalton Oxborough, and Hunter McCall have all come into the pit lane as well. So that's our top 3 in the lane, and this will be quite interesting indeed. Keeping my eye on David Freeston and Freeman as well, actually. They're on the track together at the moment. Jacob Freeman has gotten himself a great run in the short term here, up to 9th place, and we'll see what he can do to move his way further forward. Wilford's pit stop is complete, 9.5 seconds. He'll come out in the lead. Oxborough and McCall follow him out, so it looks to me like Freeman and Freeston don't have much of a chance of making up too much time here, but Wilford has come out in traffic, and this is the worst situation for the race leader to be in.
Yeah, that's Cairo Enns right alongside him, I believe. CJ Conklin just ahead, but these guys will indeed be respectful of the race leader. How did it work out there with Dalton Oxborough? Now, he was about 1.5 seconds back. Definitely did not get as lucky there. He's dropped back 6 seconds behind him, and not only that, Hunter McCall now in hot pursuit, as I can hear. It sounds like somebody's just had a little bit of an incident. I can hear, oh yes, bye-bye.
Oh. Yep, bye-bye indeed. A green Mustang. Not sure who that is. There's another car that's gone off back there as well. Oh, dearie me. That's Callan Christian, who's lost the rear on the way into turn 5. And all he can do is watch and try and find a gap to fall into. It looks like the other incident happened just ahead of him there. So, goodness me, there's so many incidents that have happened. I don't even know where to begin, but the battle The third is on between Hunter McCall and Dalton Oxborough. It's also on here between Kevin Rosario and Amrit Vestrala, just outside the top 10. We'll see if this Ferrari here of Hunter McCall has anything to say about this second place, effective second place for Dalton Oxborough. Miguel Colon is now, I think, the only car out there that hasn't come into the pits yet. And Miguel, he has great pace. The race didn't go too well for him at round 1. So he's hoping that there's going to be a bit less of that here at Laguna Seca. Crucial bit of clear air can use to gain some advantage. Don't forget the leaders came out right in the middle of traffic, and so their outlaps are going to be mega slow. So this is the perfect time for Colon to capitalize.
Well, I do have to wonder, is Miguel going to be able to make it to the end? Has he managed to save enough fuel? I mean, we've seen drivers do it before, and it's indeed been quite controversial because of how that particular league, the rule book was indeed written, and definitely caused some spice, ladies and gentlemen. But I do have to wonder, is Miguel going to be going for that, or is he indeed going to have to make his way down pit road? But multiple battles happening throughout the field, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see who else we can check in with. Hunter McCall right now still applying pressure to the back there, as here comes Freeston. Freeston's had it off.
Oh dear, that's out of turn 6 as well. I wonder what happened here.
Oh,
yeah,
my
goodness me, he absolutely mullered that curb, didn't he, Zippy?
Oh, that's so good. We're going to watch it again.
Not good for Freeston. He probably won't like the extra publicity here, but all it takes is just turning in a little too early at turn 6, and your race is effectively over. Freeston was very lucky that there weren't that many cars coming up on him there. Some clear air as he fired back across the racetrack, and he's still struggling with the rear coming out of the final corner. Porsche stopped at the final corner in the background there. Not entirely sure what that's all about. Looks to me like Scott Laurenti might have had some trouble. He's further down the field in the BMW. Different incident. And yeah, looks like he was just letting a car by there.
Yeah, definitely getting a couple of warnings pop up on the events log. And it's fair to say, if that was my bank balance moving as quick as this thing, I'd be able to retire by the end of a couple of races, ladies and gentlemen. Certainly, there's a lot going on as Miguel brings it down pit road.
All right, so Miguel Colon now waiting for the opportunity to get some extra fuel in his car. Wilford, Oxborough, McCall aren't that far behind him. Wilford is right there, and he goes back into the race lead. And it looks like Colon might well fall outside of the top 4. Might still be able to have a battle with Jacob Freeman, depending on where he comes out, but it looks like Freeman's a bit too far back. So Colon comes out on his lonesome in 5th place, sorry. Hunter McCall is a bit too far ahead for him to really make an impression, but actually, hang on a minute, I've been looking at the timing screen wrong again. It is 4th for Miguel Colon, as, trouble for the Mustang behind. I think just about every car in the field has had some issue with the rear end in this one. Let's look at Cody Haygood, meanwhile, as he chases down CJ Conklin for 25th place.
Yeah, definitely. I did feel bad for Freeman there, where he had to went and clip that for Freestone, where he went and clipped that curb. We've all done it, ladies and gentlemen. Anybody who's driven Laguna Seca and hasn't clipped that, you haven't driven it enough. It's just almost like a rite of passage there. But right now, we do indeed have a battle between the silver rank driver, Cody Haygood. He's currently in P13 for silver. CJ Conklin, second in class right now for bronze, looking pretty good there. As you see Haygood make his way flying past that lap piece of traffic.
Yeah, probably he didn't maximize his run through the corner there as a spin for a Mercedes.
Darwin.
And it looks like, yeah, Darwin. Oh no, it's an Aston Martin. Darwin Hansen there spinning out of the final corner. Not ideal.
Definitely a rough day for Darwin. He is one of the key people who does help actually put this league on as well. He's there helping in the background, but definitely not been his favorite race so far, I'm sure. But battles happening throughout. It looks like we got a pack of 4 further up here. Artis Veldra, my apologies, Amrit Vestrala leading this pack of 4. This could get interesting, Reese. Doug Sorrentino right behind, Matt Jones and Kevin Rosario. All 4 of these cars fighting for position. We've got 2 silvers and 2 golds.
Yeah, this is quite interesting indeed. Vestrala under a lot of pressure from Doug Sorrentino, who, you know, ever since I first became aware of him in the old Precision Racing League, he drove his LMP3. He purposefully didn't qualify for every single race and would race his way through to a top 5 in the end. Sorrentino does put in qualifying laps for this series, though, and the race thus far has had a couple of dramas for him, but he is now back in the top 10 and looking for a little bit more here. Can Doug Sorrentino get 9th over Amrit Vestrala, who has somehow managed to weather most of the chaos of this race? He's up 7 positions from what I can see. And we can't forget about Matt Jones either. 13 places gained up to 11th.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the better charges through the field. I think Quinn Mander's currently, no, Tommy Polte actually, 20 positions gained by Tommy Polte. As right now, Doug Sorrentino, you can tell where he's got all that practice, ladies and gentlemen. He is absolutely going at it, and it looks like Matt Jones is going to have a piece as well. And we're able to hold on as they make their way around the final corner. Fantastic stuff.
That was a proper tank slapper from Amrit Vestrala, and that is yeah, he has. But that's ultimately given the position to Matt Jones, who will, yeah, maybe not have much of a fight into the first turn unless Vestrala goes super deep. He certainly does, and that's going to bring Rosario into the fight as well. Now Rosario side by side with Matt Jones, and Reed Lincoln is right there at the back of the pack. He could find himself up a few positions here in the last couple of laps if everything goes his way.
Well, Sorrentino basically got by and said, thank you very much, and pretty much blitzed it out of there. Good call there from Doug. But right now, I think this is where all the action's going to be happening. We've got about a minute and a half left of official timing for this race. But right now, Reed Lincoln, it's not actually just that. We have the battle for silver all next to each other. Matt Jones is currently leading it. He's not just up 13 positions on the day. He is indeed leading silver. But Kevin Rosario and Reed Lincoln looking to try and take away that top spot.
This is a solid battle, the top 3 in silver all together here, as Joshua Wilford has only just started what looks like the penultimate lap of the race. This is going to be another race where it looks like it would have been 50-50 whether or not we would have gone an extra lap or not. So hopefully all the drivers have managed to put in enough fuel to get that extra lap if they projected for it. Whoa, that's a little bit wide there, and Kevin Rosario brushes the bumper of the Mercedes as he tries his best to work his way past Amrit Vestrala. Matt Jones and Reed Lincoln now right behind him. Well, actually starting to drift back a little bit. Lincoln is using all of that concrete on the entry to the first proper corner of this track. But Vestrala, it seems, has exceeded the incident limit. See the black flag next to his name.
Oh dear, that's definitely not what he had in mind, but Rosario is definitely applying a good amount of pressure there. I do have to wonder what the incident count is currently for these drivers and the limit. Certainly, Reese, I don't know if you can see that on your end. Certainly from here, it's not accessible information, but I got to admit, it was a little bit of a move there by Rosario on that final corner, but fair play. This is turning out to be some really good racing. I do actually have to wonder as well, what would happen? I'd love to see this if you had an incident limit free race and just had to drive purely on respect alone, as I could have sworn I just seen a parked car going down the back straight.
Yeah, oh man, I think we've seen a parked car in the background of just about every shot around this track at some point during this broadcast, but there's going to be one more lap of action for these guys. Vestrala will get a time penalty at the end of the race. Rosario snatching the undercut curve. Vestrala's going to go in to take the drive-through penalty for the incident limit, but Rosario, it seems, has just about lost out there. Yeah, he's fallen behind Reed Lincoln and Matt Jones now. Jones leads silver as they take the final white flag lap. And speaking of white flags, Joshua Wilford, our gold leader, our overall leader, is only 2 corners away from the finish. So let's give our victor his dues. Wilford missing out on victory last time around, but he has hit back and has put on a fantastic drive. Out of the final corner he comes and celebrates, does the South African, as he makes his way across the line and wins round 2 of the Podium 1 Fixed GT3 Series.
Yeah, Dalton Oxborough able to go away in second overall. Hunter McCall, I've got to be honest, he put up a really good fight with him, but we are indeed going to head back to the silver battle in the final closing stages of this race. Matt Jones currently leading silver. He's there. He's in P10 overall. Fantastic result so far. Up 14 positions. He's just got to hold on for another couple of corners. Reed Lincoln is right back there, but the one to keep an eye on, ladies and gentlemen, it's the Mustang of Kevin Rosario. He's been hot. He's been spicy, but can he bring the heat?
It looks like it's starting to cool down a little bit for Rosario, dragging the bottom of the car there. Another car parked on the egg tree to the final corner. Matt Jones has done enough to hold off Reed Lincoln, and it looks like Rosario's picked up a black flag on the final lap, so that leaves Jones and Lincoln free to take first and second in silver, and Ben Mielik goes through to third in silver.
Oh, Pierce Fox also able to capitalize on that. Rosario was definitely, he was skating a little close to the wind, and it's fair to say it's cost him at the end of that race. He went from P3 to P5 in the silver class. Absolutely incredible battles. Actually, you have to have a look a little bit further back now, as it looks like, oh, no. I was getting all excited then. They crossed the line. Why? Let's have a longer race. If it's going to be this good, let's keep it going.
I don't know. I think there's more than one driver here who will be glad to see the end of this race, particularly that Porsche that is crawling towards the final corner. Who is that?
Cody Haygood, I think.
It's Cody Haygood. Yeah, it looks like he's bumping it on the starter motor. He must have run out of fuel. Yeah.
I got to admit, I'm invested to see if he's going to get that. No.
Nope.
Doesn't take much to amuse me, ladies and gentlemen. It's fair play. We should do the results, and I gotta say very quickly before we do, fair play to these podium guys. They didn't hang around. I've got Dalton Oxborough, Hunter McCall, and Joshua Wilford over like, yep, we're here, Captain, we're here. Let's do the results, Reece.
Excellent. All right, so Joshua Wilford was our overall victor in the end, battled all the way along with Dalton Oxborough and Hunter McCall for the podium. Miguel Colon tried to run along in the first stint and only managed to finish a solid fourth, all by himself in between McCall and Jacob Freeman, who finishes P5. David Freeston, our pole sitter, the race did not go the way he wanted, has to settle for 6th place ahead of our reigning series champion, Artis Veldra. Chris Krohn, Doug Sorrentino rounding out your top 9, with Matt Jones finishing 10th and taking the win in the silver class.
As we have a look there at P11, Reed Lincoln able to capitalize near the end with Ben Mielik there in 12th. Pierce Fox took 13th for Jack Minter winning the bronze class. Yeah, again, Jack, for lack of better words, you what's the word I'm looking for? Sandbagger. In the nicest part. Yeah, overpowered. Yeah, let's go with that. He once again gets a win there in the bronze. So, 961 I rating. I'm starting to wonder, ladies and gentlemen. I think he may indeed have a little bit of a hustle going, or he's just incredibly modest, could be the word, or at least his I rating is. He's there in 14th with Kevin Rosario suffering that black flag near the end, as did Amrit Vestrala. They're in 15th and 16th respectively. Queen Amanda took 17th with Brent Souza in 18th. Kerry Corcoran took 19th with Cairo Ends there in P20.
Yeah, one of the first cars a lap down in this race. Richard Thurston finished behind him with Charles Ayers with issues from very early on. Has to settle for 22nd place. CJ Conklin finishes 23rd ahead of Philip Crane there. That's 2nd and 3rd in bronze. And Darwin Hanson and Jason Hatcher round out your top 26. Tommy Polte takes the 4th place in bronze, with Gramling, Pacheco and Gummer rounding out your top 30. And then we move back to Chris Brassetti, Drew Martin. The last cars a lap down. Cody Haygood 2 laps down, and unfortunately couldn't quite make it to the flag there. He was bumping it on the starter motor, ran out of fuel. Andrew Garov out very late on as well, with Michael Clark, Robert Bison, Scott Laurenti, Callan Christian, Simon Cartier and Jason Owens all having their fair share of issues. We're now getting into 3 or 4 laps down territory with Sean Phillips, Richard Pettit, Marvin Brooks, and Chris Scheusler, with Stephen Lauder rounding out those guys. And then 8 laps down, James Matney. Retirements from Matt Hollinger, Dan Svorak, and John Hamrick. They were out very early indeed. It is time for the interviews. And of course, the first driver we have to go for is our winner, Joshua Wilford, who's going to jump in just a couple moments' time. There he is. Welcome back to the top step, Joshua. And yeah, it looked pretty chaotic out there, has to be said. Laguna Seca, a pretty tiny track for a field of this size.
Yeah, guys, I knew that was going to be a clown show of a race. I knew that at the end of the day, the pace wasn't going to matter and it was going to come down to traffic management. But damn, did I get a run for my money.
Yeah,
Wow.
it was crazy, especially on pit exit. I thought like when you took your stop, you'd be all right, but then I saw you come out side by side with a couple of cars. Did you feel at any point that you were under threat for the lead when you were making your way through that traffic?
I had my black box closed and I was on my fuel page and I came out next to a gold car and I thought, okay, this is someone that's probably gone in early, saved fuel, and is now a battle for the lead. And he tapped my door and I thought, okay, you know what, this is going to come down to damage limitation. And then I got through and then I opened my black box and I took a deep breath because I saw he was a lap car, and that was when it was just put the laps in and the laps in and the laps in. And that pit stop was very strategic. I underfueled by almost over a lap just to get the gap from the guy behind me, and it paid off. It paid off.
Well, we go to a track that should have a bit more space to race. We go to the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez in Mexico City. Long straights, hard braking zones. It's sort of like Road America in that regard. But yeah, I'm wondering what your thoughts are coming into the next round, what you expect to happen there.
I think, especially for the Aston Martin, I think it's going to be very strong on the infield. After the first couple of chicanes, the infield, all of that's going to be very good with the Aston, but I think I'm going to get a run for my money by the BMW, the Mercedes-Benz, all the cars with more horsepower, if you know what I mean. But I think it's going to be a very fair race. I mean, every race has been fair except for the mess up in round 1, but I'm glad to have recovered from that. And yeah, I'm looking forward to round 3.
Absolutely. Well, thanks very much for joining us, Joshua Wilford. Congratulations on the victory. Hopefully we're chatting to you again next week.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, that's going to be Joshua Wilford celebrating victory, and Dalton Oxborough manages to jump into second place. A good qualifying performance for you, Dalton. The BMW was smiling on you today at Laguna Seca, but you were under pressure right from the outset from Hunter McCall.
Yeah, right away I was under pressure. I got lucky in turn 1 on the opening lap. They kind of went wide and I snuck up the inside and snagged the lead, but Josh Wilford, he was driving good, man. He was all over me for a while. Few mistakes let him by. Lappers were treacherous.
Yeah, certainly were. It must have been difficult to determine when to come into the pits because you would have had to factor in whether or not you were coming out in a gap or not.
Yeah, exactly. And speaking on that, I actually got a little bit messed up coming out of the pits. Someone was exiting right in front of me and kind of stopped at the pit exit to wait for somebody, and I think that's where I lost most of my time to Josh towards the end of the race. Kind of had to go around him.
Yeah, indeed. In the end, you and Hunter battled almost to the end. It was, looks like about 1.8 seconds in between the two of you. So the pressure continued all the way to the end there as well. You were also navigating lapped traffic and cars that were spinning all over the place. It's a pretty brutal venue for a field this big.
It really is. It was on the tips of your toes the whole entire race. Dudes spinning everywhere and just trying to keep the pace to hang with Josh, you know?
Well, we will certainly see if you can maintain that momentum next week in Mexico, Dalton. Joshua hinted that the BMW might be strong there on the power front, so we'll see how it goes there. Thanks for joining us, mate, and yeah, congratulations.
Thank you, guys. We'll see you next week.
All right, Dalton Oxborough with a great result there in second place, and it looks like Hunter McCall is going to be the next driver to jump in with us, finishing third overall. as we find our way through to that. Hunter, one of the only Ferraris up the top of the field, and I would think that the mid-engine layout suits Laguna Seca pretty nicely. You certainly made use of it.
Yeah, I just had a hard time. Every time I'd get behind somebody that was about the same pace as me, it just wanted to push out of every corner. I couldn't get around anybody, but I just wanted to hold my own and survive that race. I wasn't really expecting to be where I was, but it happened. I survived again. Hopefully I can survive again next week.
Yeah, it looks like in these early races of the series, survival is the name of the game. But what about strategy? Was there any what kind of permutations were you thinking about in terms of when to come into the pits?
I was just gonna come in whenever the leaders came in front of me, and then just take an extra gallon of fuel, because last week at Road America, I let the auto fuel do its thing and it cut it close. I think I crossed the line with 0.3 last week, but I had plenty this week. I think the leaders done the exact same thing I did. They all took an extra gallon. But
yeah, it makes sense that that would be what you'd go for. Laguna Seca, by the same token, also has a bit less on-throttle time than Road America. You're going to have the opposite problem again when we go to Mexico next week. The Ferrari, I'm wondering how well it suits that track. Have you practiced much?
I have done about 5 laps there. I don't know the track, and I'm gonna be practicing this week, so I'll definitely have some work to do.
All right. Well, hopefully you're back up there and fighting with Dalton and Joshua and the rest of them, and yeah, we'll give you your dues. Congratulations on the podium, Hunter, and hopefully that continues.
All right, I appreciate it. I'll see y'all next week.
Hunter McCall finishing 3rd overall there. And finally, we have CJ Conklin standing by from the administrator's chair, but also the race seat as well. CJ, this was a pretty chaotic round. Zippy, I understand, has got you.
Yeah, CJ, I was going to say, turn your camera back on, buddy. I put in this nice new feature for you, and you not even got your camera on for me to flaunt it. But CJ, while we've got you in here, why don't you tell us a little bit about some of the sponsors who've been kind enough to come on board?
Oh, awesome. Yeah, our sponsors are VPG. They make racing wheels that are real-life racing wheels in the real cars converted over to sim racing. Then we got Serpolate, which is a dairy. They raise Holstein cows, dairy cows. And then we have Carbliss, which is a refreshing drink. It's low carbs. And then, of course, Podium 1 for putting this on. And you can't forget Pit Road Productions. You guys rock.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I would normally at this point invite you to try and get involved with the series, but we can't. Not because CJ doesn't want you guys to join in, but because he literally filled the roster, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to get involved in this, you're going to have to join a waiting list. But indeed, check out Podium 1 on Discord. And if not, check out their website as well. CJ, certainly a good result for you staying bronze at P2. How did your race go?
It went pretty well. I enjoyed it. The start kind of startled me there for a second. I didn't realize it was a short start. Then it spaced it out pretty well. We put a new rule in place, no passing before the start-finish line, so we didn't have a big catastrophe like we did last week. It did pretty well. I thought the racing was well. We're going to have to visit the rule book of blue flags, which we will this week.
Yeah, definitely lap traffic can indeed be very interesting. And I don't know if you know right now, but you're on the big screen, CJ, right smack bang in the middle. Okay, we'll go for that being a P symbol, ladies and gentlemen. Certainly in different parts of the world, that can mean different things. Where I'm from, it's giving them the bird. There you go.
How about that?
Much better. Yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's good to have you here. Indeed, CJ. We're going to leave you to it for now, as we are indeed going to get this show to a close. I tell you what, though, CJ, while you're here, pick one more driver from the waiting room who you want to get in through the interview booth.
Let's get Mr. Ben Mellick with Real Street. There you go.
All right.
Hello.
Here we go then. Hello, Ben, and welcome to the comms box. A very solid result for you. You ended up making a couple of surprise positions there. It was all about opportunism here at Laguna Seca.
Yeah, a little bit of opportunity and a little bit of backtracking over again. Some back markers were a little hard to read, but yeah, no, that was a much better one than last week for sure.
Yeah, certainly. You know, the track itself is quite a factor as well. It's very easy to pick up incident points around this place. There's just sand lining the track at all areas.
Yeah, fun fact, I used to drive this track in real life and used to race here, so it's one of my favorites. And yeah, it's definitely just as bad.
Of course, it's a brutal venue, but looking forward in the season, you know, we've got a giant field, we've got plenty of great tracks coming up. I guess from now you're just looking for consistency, looking to get those results and grab the points that you need to consolidate yourself.
Yep, that's it. Stay consistent, try and keep clean as much as I can, and I think that's the learning lesson for everybody, is kind of trying to manage the traffic and manage everyone around us. I will say the start was much better this time. That was really nice. We got some racing in.
Excellent stuff. Well, thanks for joining us, Ben, and congratulations on your result. Big thanks to you as well, CJ, for jumping in. We love this series. We love broadcasting it for you guys. We're looking forward to seeing where this goes in the future. Mexico next week is going to be mega.
Oh, my favorite.
Real mega. Thanks, guys.
See you.
Fantastic stuff. So that's CJ Conklin and Ben Mielek there, and that's going to bring this show to a close here from all of us here at Pit Road Productions, all two of us, in fact, in the box. We want to thank you all for watching, and we want to give a huge thanks to the crew at the Podium GT3 Fixed Series for bringing us on to bring you this action. RAFA Racing Club on board, as well as many fantastic sponsors whom CJ thanked a little earlier, and I highlighted at the start of the broadcast. If you're interested in watching more from us here at Pit Road Productions, hit that subscribe button and hit the bell. You'll be able to see when we have our next shows coming up. We've got a couple more coming this week. I'm Reese Gardner, Daniel Zippy Salmon alongside me in the commentary box, and also producing behind the scenes. From all of us here at Pit Road Productions, goodbye for now, but certainly not forever. We'll see you next week in Mexico.